cosmic forces have conspired to get this game into this event. Right off the bat, we have the ability to name our characters. There isn't really any incentive or bid war for this time around, so I am going to go with my default names of Stop for the girl and Dying for the boy. I assure you, in a little under 2 hours, these names will make perfect sense. We also get the option to choose between a cat or a dog as our four-legged companion. I will choose the cat because that is obviously the correct answer. And in the spirit of my old childhood pet, I shall name him Moochie. With that, we're ready to go, and Kumo's probably going to yell at me if I draw this out any longer. So, 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing that you're going to learn about this game is that, oh my god, this thing is drop-dead gorgeous. You'll still yell at me anyway? You're not wrong, Ozzy. You're really not. This game was made in 2001 by a little company called Nihon Falcom. You might recognize them better as the creators of the Ys and Legend of Heroes series, but sometimes they move off the beaten path a little bit and experiment with some of their lesser-known properties, and Zwei, as you would have it, is an incredibly experimental game. For now, though, none of that really is apparent yet. We've just got some plot to go through. We have to attend our Sunday school at the church like every good Midwestern boy and girl. Fortunately, those trivialities are broken up by more important events. We have an antagonist, and his name is Masky McMaskface. Darn, he didn't kick the chick this time. I'll do it, then. Out of my way. So Maskface just went to the local shrine in this area, and you can tell he's evil because he just knocked out a guard. And you can tell that because I'm emphatically pointing at it. So we've got to chase after this goof. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts, we are, in the end, only level 1, and thus we cannot put up a fight against the dreaded Maskface. He teleports away, and he's made off with all 6 of this town's magical MacGuffins. When did this game come out? 2001. So next year, this game is going to be 20 years old. And now I feel old by proxy. So with that plot set up, we've been given our main quest. Retrieve the 6 magical MacGuffins. For no purpose other than money. Wasn't this run like 4 hours? Yeah. This run was first shown off back in 2018, I believe, for the Falcom RTA Marathon, where estimate, I want to say, was 3.5 hours, but a funny little thing happened on the way to RPG Limit Break, and its name is Eagle Captain. He took one look at this route and said, wow, you suck, Schtolteheim, I'm going to make this better. And he took a buzzsaw to this game. And now the world record is a 139. So now we can get into the nitty-gritty of the game's combat. This is a pretty standard dungeon crawler from a gameplay standpoint, with one very notable exception. You'll notice that I'm not gaining any experience points, or pretty much anything other than money and the occasional food drop from enemies. And that's the point. You only gain experience points from food in this game. For example, I just snarked down a little Jello flan, and that gave me a good 3 or so experience. So food is your only method of leveling up and getting stronger. Doesn't matter how many enemies you fight, as long as they don't drop food, they're not worth it. So with that in mind, the main routing intricacy of this game is that you need to balance how many enemies you're killing versus how much you're skipping, because you do need food drops, but you need to, in the process, pick and choose your fights, so to speak, so that you can get the most possible yield. With that, I've just eaten enough to level up to level 2. And now that we're through the first area, we meet everyone's favorite trash NPCs, Tom and Natalia. These guys are pretty much your walking, talking tutorials, so fortunately you can skip everything they say. And that is the nice thing, text automatically skips on frame 1 for you. I'm not mashing this, I'm just holding down control. They teach us about venture wings real quick, which serve as our consumable teleportation items. I picked up 4 of those at the shop in the beginning of the game. I also picked up a power stone, which I currently have equipped. That boosts my attack. I've also picked up push mittens, which allow me to push heavy objects, so it's pretty much essential for puzzling. And then I also picked up a bomb at the shop just outside of Puck. I'll be using those later. One particularly astute user took an emote of screenshots, and that's because all of the items that you see on the bottom of the screen on my hotbar are accessible by pressing the function keys if you run this on a keyboard. The funny thing, though, is that F12 is the default button on Steam for taking a screenshot, and I never bothered to unbind it. So every time I activate the 12th item on my hotbar, I take a screenshot. With that, we're through the first 2 stages in the game, the second of which is actually really difficult, and I'm surprised it went that smoothly. And we've entered one of the 4 fairy villages that you'll come across all throughout this game. These are pretty much your quest fodder. You have to do 1 quest in each of them to obtain certain plot keys, and I do literally mean key, for progressing through the game in your quest for the MacGuffins. The quest for this village, the Sylvan Woods, involves a little girl who's gotten herself lost somewhere in Caiaphas Woods, and we need to go rescue her. Which is kind of sad, because the area she got rescued in is rated for level 0 characters. How on earth you got lost in this place, much less captured, is a mystery to me. It's got some switches to hit and some other very basic puzzle elements. There's not much to talk about in these first stages, because all of the enemies crumple like tissue paper if you have the Power Stone equipped. But things will be getting a little more interesting once we've taken the girl back to Sylvan's. Stockholms. That's kind of morbid. So we rescue the girl, she gives this whole spiel about a bunch of stuff that I've forgotten at this point because I haven't read this text in like 2 years. And now we can warp back to Sylvan Woods. Just talk to the village chief again. And she gives us the water key. This is a very nice item that gives you access to a stage further in another area, the Pavel Gardens, which is where we'll be heading now. Pavel Gardens is technically where you're supposed to go to first on a fresh run, but the game doesn't really expect you to go to Caiaphas first instead, because that would be an abandonment of common sense. Luckily, for the sake of the run, I have no common sense. So this strategy is perfectly fine. Pick up a nice thing of food there. Generally, if food doesn't cost me too much time, and if it gives me meaningful experience, I'll pick it up. There are some exceptions to that rule, of course, but that's the general rule of thumb for going fast and eating fast. There There are several switches you have to hit here, but none of the puzzling elements in this game are particularly taxing on the brain. There was one really neat puzzle that we used to do in an older route, and I believe we still did that when I showcased this run for Falcom RTA, but it was routed out in time for questing for glory and Limit Break, I want to say. After Limit Break, this run hadn't really seen much in terms of improvement. However, Eagle Captain has introduced some slightly more dangerous strats for the final area, which I'm going to try to show off if I'm on good pace. This area contains the only glitch we really exploit. You slide on this ice in whatever direction you stepped it on, unless you attack at the same time, in which case you can change your momentum and go somewhere else. The game does not expect you to do that, so it hides a food item on one of the little outcroppings that you're not supposed to get to until much later. That thing gives you 900 experience points, and eating that, combined with this persimmon that I just picked up, gets me to level 6. I can now steamroll through pretty much everything in this level. Just going to do the glitch one more time here. Blast through that guy. You'll notice that sometimes enemies get popped in the air, or they have little confusion marks above their head. That happens when I get a critical hit. And the timing on those is actually consistent. You'll notice on the bottom right corner of the screen there's a little metronome that's moving back and forth. If I time my attacks such that I attack when the bar is over the red area, that's a crit. And the size of that red part of the bar increases when I'm moving, and further when I'm moving diagonally. So it's an incredibly useful skill, especially combined with this magic jewel that I just picked up. The girl, whose name in this run is Stop, is now probably the most powerful that she will ever be, because water magic is excellent, especially considering it's the first type of magic you get. All of these bubbles that she shoots out, they all have hitboxes, they're all slow, and they all linger on screen for an eternity. So, with how effectively water magic combos into itself, you can very easily pick up chains, you can easily combo enemies to death, and generally, you can wreck anything that stands against you. Apologies for the frame drops there. Internet had a bit of a hiccup. This game is called Zwei, presumably because of its dual main character dynamic. I switched between them on the fly, and they each specialize in different things. There is no game that they've ever made called Ein, but there is a sequel called Zwei 2. To all the German viewers out there, I'm so terribly sorry. Anyway, this is the hardest boss in the game. So now that we've got that out of the way, the run will fortunately become much easier because there will be no more difficult bosses than that ever. Going to return back to Puck. And one neat little feature that I might be able to use is if I head in here... I apologize for all of the frame drops. I don't know why my internet is choosing the worst possible time to short itself. Anyway, the dynamic that I was attempting to clarify is if you gather 10 of the same type of food, you can exchange it at the bar and puck for one food item that gives you more experience than the 10 ingredients combined. So we use that to our advantage in several situations to get a lot more experience for the food items we get. Basically much more bang for our buck. And it makes up for the general lack of food items that we get throughout the run. Got a quick room where I need to kill all of these mooks here. You might have noticed that I was firing off an incredibly powerful attack during the boss fight, and those are charge attacks. I get charges for those by storing up 5 or more hits without taking damage myself. You can see how many charges I've stored by the little smile icon below my health hearts. This is another reason why water magic is incredibly good, because it hits almost everything twice due to its sheer volume of hitboxes. So it's very easy to get a chain of 5 hits. You can actually upgrade your charge attack by visiting various optional dungeons. Like, you can get a charge attack level for if you get 10 hits in a row without getting hit yourself. But we don't visit any of those areas in the run anymore. I think we used to in very early stages of the run, but we have since routed that out. Anyway, that room is through with, and I'm going to take a quick detour down here to pick up these steel boots. These are nice, not necessarily for the bonus to my defense, but for the fact that you can sell them for a ton of money. And all Stop and Dying care about in this game is money. They are self-serving little scoundrels, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Moving through here, we pick up a thing of dorayaki, which is very nice, gives you about 200 experience a pop. Now we've got another kill room. This one is quite dangerous. Try to lure everybody down here. Okay, that went excellently. It was a very good room. Just going to eat a thing of Anita to get my health back up. The interesting thing about equipment in this game is that equipment does not increase your stats by static amounts. All of your stats have individual levels. So for example, since I'm level 6 at this point, I believe, my attack level is 6, my defense level is 6, my magic level is 6, etc., etc. So, since equipment increases your stats by levels, every piece of equipment you get scales throughout the entire game, and that's very convenient. Because it lets us pick up equipment now and carry that all the way to the endgame. Take a screenshot for the boys. I'm going to go back to Puck, because there's a thing I need to pick up there. I'm going to see if I can exchange any food. I cannot. I'm just going to sell my Power Stone, buy a couple Venture Wings, and that should tide me over until I get some more. The thing with this village is that the chief is incredibly bored, as are his children. So we need to get them some form of entertainment, despite the fact that you'd think paper would burn when the entire place is this close to lava. We decide to get them a little picture book. And in exchange, he gives us the wind key. Not exactly a fair trade on his end, but I'm not complaining. back to Caiaphas we go, and this is the last stage we're going to do in this area. We're going to head down the path that gives us the wind jewel. Just head in through here. And this place has everyone's second favorite type of physics after ice physics, wind physics. And they will buffet me around as much as they please. Much to my chagrin. Just going to try to move through here. Gotta switch through this hollow log. That'll take me to the last area. There's still a fair bit of wind here, but it's usually a little more manageable. Got a venture wing from that chest. My apologies, Panda. Anyway, we've got a very large and potentially very nasty killer here. There's really not much I can do but just spray and pray, so to speak. I also need to keep very, very careful tabs on my health. I want to do a Suikoden speedrun eventually, because I see what you did there with my name, but I have a lot on my plate. Anyway, now that we have the Wind Jewel, we're going to head back to Puck. And our next little detour will take us to Dapney Desert, where we meet this slimy little merchant named Reggie. Sell our boots here and buy 3 things of dynamite. Just going to arrange my inventory. Wind is nice for elemental weaknesses, but it doesn't really have the utility that water magic does. If you are interested in Suikoden runs, though, Kaiser, the run before mine at Limit Break. Wait, no, not before mine, but one of the runs at Limit Break was Suikoden 1 by a man named Zero, so if you're interested in that, I would highly recommend you check it out. I got horrendously comboed by those dogs there. Anyway, these are the Clop Caverns, and they're one of my least favorite areas in the game, because they contain a whole bunch of obnoxious enemies that can and will destroy me on first sight. Big thing I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to get them to move this little mushroom over toward me by beelining to the right, and that will allow me to push it down there without much effort myself. You can increase the speed at which you move these mushrooms by equipping the push mittens. The problem with the push mittens, though, is that they decrease all of your stats by 1 level. So you really can't keep them on, unfortunately. One more area with a ton of obnoxious enemies. Fortunately, we're through with them. Got some nice food items here. And I'm going to do a quick safety save, because this is one of the most dangerous areas in the run. Tom and Natalia give us more garbage exposition. I think they were around in Pavel, but I just completely forgot to mention them. Because I just don't care. Anyway, this is what we need the dynamite for. There are these stones that we can only blow up with it. So the 3 bombs and 3 dynamite I have should be enough to get me through this area. I'm also good on money. Ideally, I'll have more than 4,900 penny after the end of this area. Ooh, banana. You'll never see me pass up a banana. The big problem with this area is that there are a lot of enemies and they do a lot of damage because we are very underleveled. So I need to be careful here. I also need to balance items on my hotbar because I need to do a lot of bombing and dynamiting. Heading up here, we can get another bomb. And then we can use that to blow up this rock here. These round-looking rocks, you can blow up the bombs, but the, oh dear. Okay, that leveled me up, fortunately. But, the cylindrical ones, you can only blow up dynamite. Pick up another thing of squid noodles. Those are very nice items for this point in the game. They give something like 540 experience a pop, and there are 2 of them in this stage. And then here, I'm gonna blow up this rock to get me the Sage's Bangles. Like the steel boots, they're not really useful on their own, but I can sell them for a lot of money. And yes, Water Boss is yet to come. Just got one more stretch to go. You're gonna notice me walking along the walls here, and that's because the fastest movement in this game is walking diagonally against a wall. Why it's like that, I don't know, but Falcom's Yamaneko engine, which they used for most of their games in this era, has that quirk. So a lot of other Falcom games, like Ys Origin, Ys Othen Felgana, and I believe some of the Trails games also have that property. I would much appreciate it if my internet could hold a stable connection, but that seems to be too much to ask of it right now. Anyway, I just picked up the Stone Ward by selling the Sage's Bangles, and that's nice for 2 reasons. One, because it protects me from getting stoned, and that's illegal in the state of Indiana, so that's nice. And also because it increases my luck by 1 stat. That turns out to be very important. So on our way to get the village elder what he wants, we come to Hippolyta Hill, where we talk to the elder, and where we get our cat! The cat does a lot of nice things. You can take it with you and set its AI to do specific things. So I'm going to set it to heal me at all possible times, because that's nice. Sometimes I forget to heal myself, because I am ultimately self-destructive, and I need to work on that. So it turns out what the Gnome Protectorate Village Elder wanted was a bottle of wine, despite the fact that we are 2 14-year-old children who presumably cannot actually get one for ourselves. I don't think the grandpa clause really works here. So for our troubles, we get the fire key, and now we get to go back to Mount St. Canopi, which is where the game expects you to be at this point. I'm going to do a quick safety save. And despite the fact that this is the fire area and most enemies here are weak to water, I'm going to keep the wind jewel on, because this area is nasty. The big issue with this area is that there are several enemies in here that are outright immune to water, despite the fact that the majority of enemies are otherwise weak to it. Another problem is these enemies, which fire off a whole ton of projectiles, making it difficult to actually fight back. However, surprisingly, despite for all intents and purposes being the worse of the 2 characters, dying is actually the better character here. And by dying, I mean Pockle, who has been renamed to die. Sorry for the confusion. Moving up here, there's an accessory I want to get, but it's being guarded by Edward's scissor arms here, so I need to stun him real quick, equip it, heal up, and then get out of here if I can. Please, please. Thank you. That always makes me nervous. I'm gonna try to blow this guy up. Okay, I succeed. Okay, through that without too much trouble. Take a screenshot. Is there an area I actually enjoy? Several, actually. Caiaphas is actually pretty fun, despite how difficult it is. Navliest, Espina, and Serpentina, the final 3 levels of the game, are all great. It's just, Canopy and the Clop Caverns are really obnoxious. Especially because you can't really do optimal movement. All of these walls are jagged, which means that it's difficult to actually move quickly along them because you'll just get stuck. And that's no way. We're almost through, though. With that, we obtained the fire jewel. And now we can actually do the rest of Mount St. Canopy. Way out of order. That's the interesting thing about this game. You can do a lot of stuff out of the intended order. A lot of the routing process for this game was just figuring out what you could and couldn't do. Here we get a nice little hot dog. And we've got these pig enemies. These don't really do much, they don't really drop much in terms of food, so usually I only kill them because I have to. And yeah, the kitty's putting in work. The cat will pick up items that you don't. Okay. If my internet would stop being a piece of excrement, I would much appreciate it. So, as I was saying, the cat will scavenge for items if you don't pick them up yourself, so you can save a lot of time just by leaving stuff up to the cat. I'm gonna take another screenshot. And we're on to the boss. To sort my inventory real quick. So, a couple food items, and we should be good to go. Yes, my picture collection is quite large. So I forgot to mention this guy. This is Colbert. He's ugly and stupid, so he's automatically part of the antagonist's bunch. And his attempt at impeding Mask Gimmick Mask Face comes in the form of summons. This one here's a chocobo. They don't even try to hide it. And depending on his mood, he might be a jerkbird today. Nobody in this marathon seems to be having good luck so far, so I'm hoping he cooperates. This is the attack I wanted to do, because he just stays there and lets me hit him. That's not the attack I wanted to do, because it's difficult to hit him when he does this. Okay, that was a very good fight. When he gets below about 1500 HP, he will immediately run away from you and try to heal himself. And as I learned in the practice run yesterday, he's a lot faster than I think he is. So, that he didn't manage to get a heal off on me is nice. Now we've gotten the second of our 6 MacGuffins back. And we can warp back to Puck. Real quick, I'm going to exchange my food. And then I'm going to talk to this rich kid, Numa. he's the one responsible for putting up the 100,000 penny bounty for returning the 6 MacGuffins. And for our progress, he gives us a magnet. Truly magnanimous, he is. We're going to take it down to the Pavel Midway. And real quick, I'm going to rearrange my inventory. I don't need battery on there, like the magnet, slot 1. Nice little detail here. You can actually see the water splashing on characters' heads if you stand below it. This game just has a ton of cute little details that you just come to appreciate the more you play. Is this Mystery Dungeon? No, but you can find Mystery Dungeon on this channel about 2.5 months from now. So now that we have the battery, we can power those lifts, and that will get us further into the Pavel Gardens. Pick up that thing. Nice little accessory that gives me a bunch of defense. Gotta be a bit careful here. I'd like to crit those guys, and fortunately I made it through. We're coming up to probably the most obnoxious kill room in this game. Zwei's enemies have a weird commonality where either they're really slow, like this guy, or they will immediately run away from you off the screen at the first possible chance they get. And that makes it difficult to deal with. I can try to mitigate this with charge attacks and with crits, but there's only so much I can do when they can just immediately run off the screen in like half a second. That guy dropped an egg. That's kind of unusual. Get back here, sir. Okay, I need to find where the last one is. There it is. And that's all she wrote. We've now entered the final of the 4 fairy villages, the Undine Land Amusement Park, which completely fails at being an amusement park because to get here you have to go through an area with level 12 enemies. Civil engineering is not this race's specialty. So we have to try to mitigate this. We need to go back to Puck and we need to put up a flyer for the Undine Land Amusement Park to try to get some tourist generation down here. Do I have the Venture Wings? Yeah, I do. I have plenty. So I gotta go back to Puck. And I've got to talk to the owner of the bar here, Chai. Or Che, or however it's pronounced. Hang the flyer up, go back to Undine Land. And I've got a bit of a shop to do. Talk to this NPC here, and she gives us the matching duds. We are going to return her generosity by immediately selling it. Because it's good money. And then I'm going to buy 3 Venture Wings, 2 bombs. That should tide me over for the rest of the run. Talk to the Elder again. And we've acquired the final key. We're not going to go unlock it immediately, though. We're going to go back to the mid. What we're going to do first is unlock this area's altar, so that later, when we've gotten the Earth Jewel and its associated legendary Earth magic, we can immediately warp back here to start the boss fight. Here, kill some dudes. This area introduces you to penguins, who can be a little obnoxious because they can freeze you. but they don't have much health and they have even worse defense. So if you've got good crit timing, you generally won't have too many issues. Moving over here, we get the Champ's Garb, which increases our attack by 1 level, and we're going to keep that accessory until the end of the game. At the very least, a silver line to being frozen is that you can still attack while being frozen, so you can just mash, and generally you'll be fine. Kill these penguins to see if I can get any eggs. I cannot. That's unfortunate. We used to do a really big puzzle that had a really interesting solution in this room, but we've routed that out, so that floor lasts 5 seconds. And now that we've taken a screenshot and unlocked the altar, we're going to go back to the clock caverns to complete its final 2 levels. There we go. Clear up my inventory just an itty bit. And we're into Mop 16, which is daunting, as one could imagine, because you're supposed to be level 16 for this area. We're level 8. 9. So there are a lot of enemies in here that can cause us a lot of pain. Like this one. That guy will two-shot me if I'm not careful. Gotta watch for that guy. Ooh, I'm nearly dead. I'm gonna start down that hot dog. This is bad. This is actually very bad. I need to get out of here as soon as I can stand it. Because that guy can also snipe me. He has a very powerful, very damaging long-range attack. I'm just gonna kill that guy. I would rather go slow here than take a death. Fortunately, there's another thing of milk we can get. Milk is very nice. It gives you something like 1500 XP. Moving over here, we get these shoes, which boost your attack. Crit stun that guy. Okay, he is giving me a lot of trouble here. Okay, he's dead. Level 9 does not fix this. Oh my god, does it not? I need to... Oh, I'm almost level 10. That'll help fix things. That was probably why I had so much trouble with that. Move over here, and immediately we have to try to get out of here as soon as possible because we are getting besieged by 3 of these guys. And they will ruin my day if I don't get out of there fast enough. Now we've got 4 of these spider bug things to deal with. These guys will jump around a lot, and that makes them annoying. Then we got this guy. I can crit charge attack him to death. And we're through. That's one of the most stressful stages in the run. So I'm thankful that's over with. Some very nice food drops here, and now we're level 11. Only one more level in this area to go, and it's the area where we acquire the legendary Earth Magic. Kill those guys, and that unlocks Shroom, or I don't know, maybe it's a Shiitake, I don't know. Japan is weird sometimes. Here, and make sure this guy doesn't steal my hamburger, because he tends to do that, and that makes him dead to me. And now, we've got bees. It wouldn't be a Falcom game without bees. They are all over this place, and they can paralyze you, which is obviously no bueno in a speedrun. I'm also going to kill these guys here, because they have a chance of dropping donuts, very nice food items. Down here, and we can get thing of dorayaki. Got to equip neutral magic and push mittens for this area so that I can get out of here before those enemies wreck me. Those Grim Reaper looking enemies are very dangerous because they can inflict every status effect in the game on you at once if they hit you. So you'll be paralyzed, which slows you down, you'll be poisoned, you'll be confused, which reverses your directions. It's not a good time. Got a bunch of bees here. You don't have to kill them, you can trigger that torch without touching them, but it's super cathartic to kill them, so I always do. And we're through. With that, we've acquired the legendary Earth Magic, which I assure you is not sarcastic, despite my overblown emphasis. With that, we begin the boss rush. Going to sort my inventory, as much food on here as I can manage. Yeah, that looks good. Pockle, aka Dying, is actually the better candidate for this fight, because Pockle's weapon has a nice ability that lets him absorb incoming magic shots and dish them back out as magic damage of his own. Pipiro/Stop doesn't have this problem because she has infinite magic charges off the bat, which generally makes her better, but this boss spams magic a lot. It's the Chocobo's aquatic brother this time around, and he can potentially be very dangerous. Just gotta keep careful tabs on my health here. Try to store up charge attacks. That fire breath you see him doing actually isn't a concern because its hitbox is really bad. You can just walk under it. Okay, this is his tsunami warning. You gotta get behind these rocks or else you're dead. Fortunately, it gives you a lot of time to wail on them. So, that fight actually went pretty smoothly. And now, the third MacGuffin is ours. Now, back to the Caverns altar for the second boss. I'm going to swap out my fire magic for water, put some more food on, do a quick safety save because this boss is incredibly inconsistent. I have a significant chance of dying here, depending on what the boss does. So this is Rock Lobster. He's a lobster made of rocks, and I want him to do a very specific attack for me. He's doing the attack. Okay. This is what I want him to do, because he's completely whiffing his attack here. Since I'm standing at a very specific angle. He stopped, which kind of sucks. But he might do it again at some point. Like right now! If I stand at a specific angle, then he just can't hit me, because bosses can only face a certain number of angles. And by abusing that, I can make it so that I can hit him safely and without consequence. Hey there, Eagle Captain. Eagle Captain is the other runner of this game, and I believe he was the one who devised this strategy, so I have him to thank for this. Boss should be dead. Boss is dead. That was a decent fight. The ideal fight has you doing that manip all fight long, but we don't know of any consistent way to get him to do that same attack over and over. Unfortunately, we were too late to stop Maskface, and he has executed the first part of his plan, an FMV cutscene. For those of you who watched this run at Limit Break, yes, I do remember where the plot trigger is here. I didn't forget it this time. But, by the law of equivalent exchange, I will forget something else before this run is over. So Maskface is done here now, and he's decided to give up the ghost, and just give us the fourth of our 6 MacGuffins back. What a kind, upstanding man. We're going to go back to Puck, where the villagers have noticed that something has gone terribly wrong. Before we investigate, though, I'm going to head back down to Dapney Desert and Regenev. I'm going to sell my heavy helmet and my heavy wrists, and I'm going to buy a thing of Santa boots. Oh, hold on. I'm also going to buy one thing of dynamite, because I need that for an area 2 dungeons from now. One more thing I'm going to buy is the earmuffs, and I'm buying these for the purpose of raising my luck. Luck normally is kind of an inconsequential stat, but here it means everything, because luck affects your food drops from enemies. I'm also going to put all my magic on my hotbar. And this area of the shrine has now opened, leading to the next area. This is my favorite music piece in the game. Welcome to Navliest. Something about this theme is just so relaxing. Especially after how stressful that midsection of the run is. It's just nice to have a breather. But you really can't let up here, because this is also a very difficult area, albeit for different reasons. Once again, you're heavily underleveled for this place, however, you really need to watch out for enemies that can confuse you here. You get confused, and you're in for a bad time. Main objective with stacking luck with the Santa boots and the earmuffs is to get apples off of these angel-looking things. I want to get at least 5 before the end of this area, because the boss of this area drops 5 apples of his own, and if I can store up 10, I can exchange them for 1 melon after I complete the area. That said, preserving them also deprives me of one of my best items for healing, so I need to be very careful, and I need to try to avoid using apples whenever I can. Which is easier said than done, given how much the enemies in this area hurt. Got through with them relatively. Okay, all of those enemies are down. Hit this switch for a nice food item. The cat got stuck and started breakdancing. Sometimes he'll do that if he tries to reach for an item that's beyond a wall. There's nothing I can really do about it, but try to jitter him out. Got another melon here. Increased drop based on the character? No. Your characters have the same luck. The only deviation in their stats is that one has one more point of defense, and the other has one more point of magic defense. Aside from that, they share stats. I'm gonna eat some chocolate to get it out of my inventory. Having too much food can actually be a problem because you only have limited inventory space. Anyway, we're through there, and we get another cutscene with everyone's favorite garbage NPCs. This time, Tom has decided to stake it out on his own, and he's promptly gotten lost because he is a goofus. Another small detail I really appreciate is that right now, as we take this carpet, you can see the village of Puck below us as the background. Because we're actually really high up in the air. But as we begin the second area, you'll notice that the background has expanded to cover the entire continent. And I don't know why that detail intrigues me so much, it just does. It's such a cute touch. It also helps that, as I mentioned earlier, the music for this place is incredible. Heading through here, we've got a few more enemies to deal with, and we got this cheeky little sign here. This game's localization is very tongue-in-cheek, if you couldn't tell. Got some more signs to push. Gotta be mindful of my health here. This one is here. There we go. You can actually use the magnet to pull those, as opposed to pushing them like you normally would if you're in a pinch. Heading through here, I'm going to see if I can level up from here. I can. That makes this a lot easier. This is the no good, awful, horrible, very bad room. There are these 7 switches that I've got to hit, and these types of switches can only be hit by neutral magic, so I have to unequip what magic I have. I also need to clear my inventory a bit so that I can pick up that. I'd rather have that. It's nice healing. And yeah, these enemies are constantly on my tail, and they hurt a lot. So I gotta be real careful here. I think there's only one. Okay, that was all of them. Take 2 screenshots because it ate my first one. Get rid of that guy before I move on. Cat is doing a lot of good work. Move through here. Push one more statue, and we're through this area. With that, we pick up the 5th, the 6 jewels, the light jewel. It's one of the most useful jewels in the game, actually, just not right now, because every enemy in here pretty much resists light magic. Becomes very useful very soon. Money does not matter after you enter Navliest and get the Santa boots and the ear buffs. Money is kind of tight as you enter caverns, but that's really the only instance. So overall, it is rather forgiving. You can even get away with buying the wrong thing at the start and still salvage the run, as I have done before out of stupidity. Do as I say, not as I do. Anyway, entering here. Got a ton of enemies that I've got to fight off. Because this contains the Champ's Gloves, which boost my attack by another level. Get through here and we get a melon. More legendary earth magic at work. Earth magic, it's really good in concept, just not in execution, because it has a lingering AoE hitbox, but the hitbox deals no damage, so it's useless. Anyway, picking up that melon, we've hit our target level 15. There are a bunch of chests in here, but a good half of them are mimics, which kind of sucks. And they don't give you anything for killing them. Yes, this game is adorable. I can't get over this art style, and it's nearly 20 years old at that. For a game released in 2001, this is probably the best I've ever seen a game age. Take care of those guys. Nice thing of milk. One more use of legendary earth magic. Oh, this guy wants to go. Oh, no he doesn't. He considered coming with me and then immediately rescinded. I am going to drink my milk, because I'm a good boy. To put as much food as I can in here. Equip my attack shoes over my Santa boots, do a quick safety save, and Pockle/Dying is actually the better character for this fight, for similar reasons to the fight with the water chocobo. The thing about this boss is that it has a shield that blocks all magic until you take it off about 2/3 of the way through his health. So, Pipiro/Stop is fully useless for the majority of this fight. Gotta be very careful here, because he's got a lot of attacks and they hurt, so since I need to be close range to deal damage, I have to do this sort of tango-looking thing. He also name drops the game. So sorry for the lack of commentary, I just need to concentrate a bit. Shield is almost done. There it is. Now I can blow him up with all the charge attacks that I've stored up. And that's the boss down. unfortunately, following the Villain of the Week formula... Wait, no, this isn't Villain of the Week. It's the You Can't Stop Phase 1 plan. I keep getting my tropes mixed up. We are yet again too late. So there's a bunch of backstory that I probably should have told you about an hour ago. But anyway, the mask face dude person thing. Pockle/Dying partially set out on this journey because he idolized this mythical hero named Paradis, who fought alongside his waifu for laifu in a massive war against this horrendous demon thing 500 years ago. Here's the problem. Paradis is actually Maskface. And Pockle doesn't really know how to respond to that. Fortunately, he has Pipiro to knock him out of this funk, because Pipiro has no filter. And Pipiro will tell you to suck it up and live with your life, no matter how depressed or distraught you are. I'm going to exchange my apples for a melon, and I'm going to buy 2 more Venture Wings to tide me over. As was alluded to in the cutscene, this area is now open to us. And within it is the Temple of Espina. Another dungeon with excellent music and horrendously difficult enemies. And I need a magnet. Dynamite. Wind. And fire. As we enter the first area, Hell's Halls, and Coexel contemplates banning me from RPG Limit Break for bad language, I'm going to shift my focus toward lemons. Those are the next items that I want to save up. The boss of this area drops 5 lemons himself, so if we exchange those at the inn, we get this really nice sorbet that gives something like 4,000 XP. There are also these guys to look out for. They drop hamburgers, and though I can't save up 10 of those, hamburgers are very nice items on their own. Take another screenshot. Use that dynamite to blow up the barrier. Got more of these bats. I'm doing really well on lemons so far. Which is a nice change of pace from the luck I usually have with them. Thing I need to push here, and a bunch of enemies I need to ignore. Meantime... Okay, this is bad. Okay. That lightning hurts a ton, so I really don't want to get hit by it. Oh, nice, I got a lemon for my troubles. I think I'm already at 5. Which is very unusual. Moving on ahead from here. Got a few more enemies to defeat. Got a thing to push. And now for a bit of a maze. Nothing we can't handle. Those enemies are nice because they drop tangerines, which heal a whole ton of HP and give a whole lot of XP. So generally, if it's not too inconvenient, I like to kill them. That was really close. The game is not very lenient with its invincibility frames. You have next to nothing in terms of invincibility, and that can be a problem. It hasn't happened in this run yet, but sometimes, as you're opening the menu, hitboxes are still active, which means that something can hit you, knock your HP down to 0 while you can't move as the menu opens, and you can't do anything because the game doesn't let you heal. So you have to be proactive with your healing. And we got these rooms with these torches. Wait, not torches, candles. They can only be lit by light magic. So, as if light magic weren't good enough, it's now a necessity. Let's break through these guys. I actually have enough lemons that I can skip that. Take a tangerine for a level up and a screenshot. And we're through Hell's Halls. One last cutscene with Tom and Natalia. And much to my content, they will never bother us again. Now we got this room. This room requires all 5 of your elemental jewels. So I get all of them on my hotbar, and I need to switch through them constantly, which is obnoxious. But, sadly, I don't make the rules. There are various elemental barriers, and then you've got to use light magic to light the candles. Main issue is that with all this stuff I have on my hotbar, I don't have any space for food. So I either have to enter the menu or I have to sacrifice one of my slots for jewels. And neither of those are particularly appealing options. Here, light this candle. See if this guy drops a tangerine. No, just money. There isn't any use for money after you buy the earmuffs and the Santa boots, so sadly there's nothing we can really spend it on. There is an item called the Blood Earrings that increases all of your stats by 2 levels, and it would be really nice if we could get it, but it's like 500,000 penny. And no amount of money grinding can feasibly get that much. Quickly, anyway. That. The 4 candles are lit. And we can proceed to pick up the final jewel of the game. This is the Dark Jewel. It only has 1 use, but it's a very important use. We'll be seeing it later. Back to the midpoint we go. Eat sandwich. Get my health back up to full. And 1 Espina level remains. Fortunately, you can actually skip 2 of its floors because the stairs are right there on the first floor, and then on the second you can just ignore the gravity well that that thing has. And now we've got a move rush. It's the Reaper enemies from Clop Caverns, except more powerful and even more obnoxious, and also they can hit me from nowhere. These sages are also difficult to deal with, but they drop squid noodles, so I don't mind them. And the pots in this area contain very good drops on their own. I want to be level 17 for this fight. 16 would be very difficult, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. And we're through. Despite what I said earlier, this is the hardest boss in the game, so I'm going to be safety saving after my stuff. 2616. Yep, okay. Now, with as much food on me as I can stand. Attack shoes. That'll have to do. This is about as well equipped as I can be for this fight, so I'm just gonna have to go in and hope for the best. They say don't fear the Reaper. But god damn me if I don't fear this one. So here's the problem with this guy. He's incredibly fast, and he hits like a freight train. And he has a bunch of attacks that can kill me if I'm not careful. Like that one, which just drops a whole ton of things all over the screen. There's no way to predict it. Oh. Okay, I'm kind of surprised that didn't hit me. Samsara and Nihility are his other two attacks, and they are incredibly dangerous, so I cannot let them hit me. I'm gonna eat food just to be safe. Die! Oh, goodness. Don't be fooled by how simple that looked. That was nerve-wracking. Any fight I survive is a fight I'll take. Yet again, however, we cannot stop the onslaught of Masky McMaskface. This is the final phase of his plan. With that, he has wrong-warped Solomon Shrine from East 2 into the world of Zwei. Its name has been rechristened as Serpentina, and it is the final dungeon of the game. I apologize for the thumping in the background. My neighbors are dropping things on the floor, apparently. Anyway, this maiden that he just quote-unquote rescued was his waifu for Laifu Tiara, which, as I mentioned... that sometimes happens. As I mentioned earlier, he fought the demon alongside 500 years ago. She had been sealing that demon within Serpentina for all of these 500 years, but Maskface had the wonderful idea to say, "I can't bear to see you suffer. I shall free you, so that I may end this burden myself." Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. But anyway, the more important matter at hand is that we have all 6 of the MacGuffins back. So now we can pick that up, and we can finally complete our quest. Wind, water... dark, light, fire, and earth. And it's time to get our 100,000 penny. It's actually faster to warp back to Nuba's mansion than to walk. Unfortunately, our dreams of Sweet Sweet Penny have been interrupted by the fact that Numa is broke. And Pipero is incredibly angry at this. I mean, why wouldn't she be? The loss of 100,000 penny means that you can't buy any more clothes, you can't buy any more food, you can't buy those luxury nights at restaurants. It really sucks for a girl. So she's gonna blow off some steam by saving the world. Tiara gives her whole spiel about who she is and who Maskface is, and she warps us to the Serpent Ruins, where soon we will begin our ascent into Serpentina. Unfortunately, Tiara will not be joining us, because after 500 years of effectively T-posing, within a temple, her legs have atrophied to dust. The fact that she can still walk is a miracle of life in and of itself. So with that, Tiara is brought back to reality and promptly oofs. And in her absence, the responsibility of saving the world now falls on 2 14-year-old children and their pet dog. Wait, no, not dog, cat. Oh god, I've been corrupted by the Frank disease. Someone shoot me before it spreads. Oh, Peace America tweeted about the upcoming stream? Well, cool. If you're arriving from there, the Disgaea 4 run will be starting about half an hour from now. For now, this is Zwei, the Arges adventure, a game by Falcom, released in 2001. You cannot tell from how good this game looks. Anyway, I'm going to rearrange my stuff real quick. That ought to work. And we've entered Serpentina. Get your sour pleases ready. This theme is great. I no longer need to conserve my lemons, so I'll be using those up. This area can get a bit dicey because you do start out pretty low on food. And these big dog enemies hit like a truck. So I gotta be very careful here. Fortunately, there are a lot of enemies here and they drop a lot of food. Trigger that switch there. I immediately gotta line up a charge attack because if I don't, I will get wrecked. Take a screenshot. Oh, taking a lot more damage than I wanted to. This is kind of nasty. We're through, though. I don't mind losing a bit of time here as long as I just survive. These guys hurt a lot, so I'm going to try to stun them. Eat me some chicken. And we got... oh, no, this isn't the area yet. What game is this? This is Zwei, the Arges adventure, released for PC in 2001. However, it was only localized in 2018, so I don't blame you if you missed this game. I'm getting a combo here. I need to get out of here. Fortunately, I have now gotten out of here. Low on food. Take care of that guy, and then there are a whole bunch of dogs. They are mad that I chose the cat, so I'm just going to sit here and stall them out with water magic. Fortunately, they give me a lot of food. So that helps make up the discrepancy. Okay, I've leveled up. My target level is 20, by the end of this area, and I should be able to make that relatively easily. Got these enemies here, which resist everything except neutral magic, so you gotta be careful around them. There was a console port, but it was never released outside of Japan. There was a port to PS2 as well as PSP. The PSP version contains a remixed soundtrack that is included as a toggleable option in this version. I personally prefer the original, but it is entirely your preference. Got another big dog to deal with. More of these knockoff Tonberry looking things. We're almost through the first level. I've just got more of these enemies to deal with. Ooh, that was close. I want to read light. Backpack extender, which I don't really need it at this point, but it's nice to have. And we're through the first area. There's only one more area of Serpentina to go. And it is quite the daunting one. I'm going to be killing just about everything I come across, because there are two very nice drops in this stage: smoked eggs and strawberries. If I can get enough of those to level up to level 20, then I should be Gucci for the final boss. These gargoyle enemies are obnoxious because they can make themselves invulnerable, and usually they won't let up until you get really close to them, so it's difficult to actually hit. The smiley faces below my health are charge attack stores. If I get more than 5 hits in a row without taking damage myself, then that counts as a stored charge attack, and I can release it like that by holding down and releasing attack. They're my main method of damage, because they do a whole ton of damage, and they generally have good homing. They're not the best, but it works. Got a whole ton of enemies besieging me immediately here. They are best dealt with a charge attack. Cat's putting in work picking up all of this stuff. Some milk. I should be able to level up to 19 soon. We're about halfway through the area. But yeah, light magic is great here, because it's basically water magic, but better. Kill that guy. I'm gonna eat me a filet mignon. Pick up that muscat bunch, or muscat, whatever, however you pronounce it. Got some more enemies to deal with here. They both drop smoked eggs, that is very nice. There we go. Got some more enemies up here, and see if I can get any smoked eggs from them. Whoa. Oh. I got the death glitch. That'll happen sometimes. If you open the menu, projectiles, and all hitboxes are still active, so sometimes you can die without being able to move. I just got my healing a bit too late. I wasn't expecting this run to go deathless, and I'm still actually making really good time. So, I should be able to just rush through this. Since I'm already doing pretty well on food. The cat will also periodically heal me. That was almost bad. This run actually still has a chance to PB, because I don't think I've ever had I've never had a PB run with this route go deathless. So I'm not quite out yet. That did cost me a fair bit of time, though. I was thinking I might have been able to sub 135 if I particularly beelined it through the last room, but that doesn't seem to be an option anymore. Okay, let's gotta take care of you. Not die here. That would be nice. That's open. Pick up that smoked egg. Moving on to the final area. This is the last floor on Serpentina. Prefer to eat strawberries here over smoked eggs because strawberries give less health, but a similar amount of experience, so having that extra healing from the smoked eggs for the final boss fight would be nice. Actually, check that. I don't think this is going to PB. At least not technically. Not unless something really strange happens with the final boss. Last use of push mittens for the run. Take a screenshot. Probably the final one of the game. Over here, pick up a very nice food item. And over here, pick up the Champ's Headband, which is the final attack boosting item. And we're through Serpentina. So I'm going to snarf down all the food I accrued, and I've hit level 20. Okay. Dark magic. Attack shoes and Champ's Headband, so I'm at... there we go. 750 total attack. And we're ready to fight the final boss. Turns out Maskface tried to fight the boss himself, but by the rule of JRPG anti-heroes, he failed miserably. So the fate of the world rests in our hands. For this final fight, we must foray into Final Fantasy V, for there's an evil tree that we need to defeat. Welcome to X-Death, Population U. Dollar General X-Death. It's a very good way of putting it. So for the first phase of this fight, Vesper gets very, very handsy. And this is where Dark Magic comes in, because it's got this nice, lingering four-directional projectile. And it can hit both of these hands at once. It's vulnerable during crash bombs, so I'm going to set up the charge attack. And the fight devolves into just trying to spam as hard as possible. And try not to get comboed to death. This attack is fine because he's actually vulnerable. And that's the first phase down. For those of you who've seen this final boss, you're going to be in for a pleasant surprise with this remix. Vesper has been unleashed, and he looks like an awkward demonic chicken with wings. But fortunately, Tiara and Paradis have joined forces to give us one last-ditch anime power-up to save the day. It's final boss time. He's giving me a bunch of very slow patterns. And he's down. That is a missed PB by like 5 seconds. That final boss was horrendously slow. Damn. If I had choked on Serpentina, that very well could have been a PB. But, well, it is what it is. This was still a very good run. Only having one death is a good run in my book, and this'll get sub 140, which I haven't done in a while. There's still one little bit of game left. For reference, my PB is 139.14, and Eagle Captain holds the record at 139.06. So we've just got to do a quick little saunter over to the Serpent Ruins to send Tiara and Arges off. And that... that is time. So the funny thing about Zwei is that the game knows that you're speedrunning, so Tiara will offer you advice every time you complete a run. The advice she has for us today is stop dying. I told you these names would make sense. I told you less than 2 hours ago. And like Nostra frickin' Damus, my prediction has come true. So, that is Zwei, the Arges adventure. I have well overstayed my welcome at this point, considering I wasn't supposed to be here at all. So,